Today we've got something that is very, very important for people to understand. And today we're going to be talking about how to get started in multifamily if you don't have any experience, right? And so I started off, everybody starts off, you don't have experience. How do you close that gap from being a person who has experience to a person who doesn't have any experience? For a person that doesn't have any experience to a person that has experience in this business, what are the tactics? What are the techniques? What are the skills that you need in order to be able to make that happen? Do you need to have credit? Do you need to have a certain amount of experience in single family, right? What are those metrics? Like, what's the criteria? How do you get involved in this business today? We're going to be talking all about that. And so I'm excited to dig into it. We'll go ahead and try to hop in here, answer some of your questions, ask some questions if you have them. So what I like to say right now, if you're joining up, if you're on Zoom, if you're joining in the Facebook Live, if you got a pressing question, you took time out of your day to come here and you say, I want to know this. Go ahead and put that in the chat right now, and I'll make sure that that gets addressed. This is not the Jason Stubblefield show where I just babble on and ramble about what I know. I'm trying to make sure that you, the person who's attending this, watching it online later, getting a replay, what have you, I want to make sure that you actually get useful information that you can know. So if you're here live with me, don't hesitate. Go ahead and start that up. With that being said, Terrence, thank you for joining, man. Yeah, I saw you on the Zoom earlier. Michael, Muhammad, Armando, Anthony, appreciate you all being in here. If you're on Zoom and you are decent looking, right? You're established, right? You got on the shirt, pants, or whatever. I like seeing the faces, right? So it lets me know if I am on point, right? If I'm letting you know this information, if you're receiving it, if you don't receive it, if you're confused, right? Sometimes I can pick that up, and it helps me to sort of clarify. So if you don't mind, if you want to show the face, then cool. So also with that, want to see where y'all coming in from here today. So yeah, I'm in Georgia and it is cold. So if you could, Loganville, okay, that's right around the corner. If you could not only just put where you are, but put where you are and the temperature where you are right now, because it is freezing where we are. All right, so we got Jack coming in at Buford. Loganville, Georgia's coming in strong today. I like it. So let's see what else we got here. Everyone, and we got a question from Terrence right away. So all right, cool. Let's go ahead and start with that. So it doesn't seem possible to cash flow positive after dealing with debt service on a loan, and usually you need 30% down on commercial loan. So you need a loan for 30% as well as a loan for the rest. Let me see. Let me read that again. Doesn't seem possible to cash flow positive after dealing with debt service on a loan. You need 30% down on commercial loans, and so you need a loan for 30% as well as a loan for the rest. I'm going to try to Oxford, Mississippi was 1 degree.
1 degree.
Oxford, Mississippi. Okay. Muhammad coming in from Morocco. All right, good deal. We're making our way around here. So I don't know if anybody's joining from further away than Morocco. But we're great to have that. So Terrence, with that question, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is that it's hard to cash flow. You got to put you got to get 70% loan in your example, 30% of down payment, and you're saying it's hard to cash flow if you're doing that, correct?
Yeah. So like if you figure the multifamily is going to cost you $500,000, you need a commercial loan for $500,000, but then you need 30% down, which is $150,000, and I guess you need, a loan for the $150,000. I could get $150,000 on commercial corporate credit cards. I have that much corporate credit, but then I'd have to pay the debt service on the $150,000 as well as the debt service on the $500,000. Gotcha. Those would be
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends. I don't know what your corporate credit is like, what the terms of that loan are, but we go through the same thing in all of our deals. So where you are right now is actually good. So you got $500,000 of leverage that you can bring into a deal. You just have to find a deal that is good enough for you to be able to support that. Usually, and you may have to get a little bit creative with this, but we do value add real estate. And so when you buy a deal at the very beginning, you're purchasing current value, but you do so with the intention of growing that value over time. So as you grow that value over time, the debt service in the beginning on that 500,000 may be challenging, but over time, as you do rental increases, trimming on operations, you might be able to make those numbers look better, right? And so we model all that out, and we'll talk about that a little bit today when it comes to ways to get started. But I think that you've got a good starting point, and probably reach out to me at some point, Terrence, so we could talk about maybe your steps as far as what you can do if you've got some capital to sort of get started, and you may find some ideas that we'll discuss here today useful to you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. I'm going to share my screen. Who am I? Why am I talking to you today? My name is Jason Stubblefield. I've been buying apartment complexes since 2016. With that, we scaled our portfolio to a little over 1,000 units. Also, it's my primary business right now. So what you're looking at on the screen is our website, snscapitalpartners.com. You can find out more about me. You can find about investors who have invested with us. And if you are interested in passive investing, if you want to put some of your capital to work and get into a multifamily, we'll discuss that today. But if you go over to the Invest tab, click Join Now, you fill out a brief form, either me or somebody from my team will reach out to you to see if what we have to offer as far as our investments is something that is a match for you, and see if that works as far as an investment opportunity. But if you are not registered here, you don't hear about some of our deals. This makes sure that you hear about everything once we understand where you are and what your investing goals are. So that is that, and let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. So for today, as we talk about this, here's what I want to do. I want to cover ways that you can get in if you don't have any experience. Okay. With that, I thought about this, and it really boils down to two things. You're going to fall into one or two categories. Either you're somebody who has time, but you don't have any money, or you're somebody who has money, but you don't necessarily have a lot of time. Or maybe you're a mixture. You've got a little bit of time, you got a little bit of money. So I'm going to try to premise everything that we talk about today under those people who have time and under those people who have money. And with that, what you can do in order to leverage yourself to get in. So some of the things that we talked about as questions when I kick this thing off. Do you need a certain credit score? Do you need a certain amount of capital? Do you need a certain level of experience? And the answer to that for those who are brand new is no. You can do this without any money, without any experience, without having your own capital. There is going to be capital, but it doesn't necessarily have to be yours. So you can do this without all of that. All that is true. Now, I hear a lot of people say that, different people that talk, different social media posts, whatever. But I'm trying to give you realistically what's going to happen. It can be done, but you just have to know how to structure those things and how to make it happen. It's not like it's just going to show up and magically appear for you. Nobody is going to just give you a deal with no money, no experience, no time, no team. That's not going to happen at all. So in today, we're going to talk about how you can get involved without any experience and really try to put some color around those ways when it talks about leveraging, getting capital, stuff like that. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop right in, as well as to talk about expectations. I want to set everybody's expectation today. And this is not easy, right? I don't want people to show up and think that this is just some get rich quick scheme. You don't have to put any effort, any time in. It's just going to happen for you. Oftentimes you'll hear podcasts, YouTube video, whatever. Someone has taken 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of their life and breaking it down into a 30-minute podcast or a 15-minute podcast, whatever. And it sounds very simple. It's just the nature of the business. We're in the information age, and information is going to come to you, but don't necessarily expect it to be that simple, right? You're going to have to do some things. So I like to uncover the hood, sort of let you know what the truth is, and sort of get into it. So for all my people, raise your hand if you don't have any money, right? I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Love you all. That's where I started at, right? And so I want to start with the people who don't necessarily have money first, and really let you know how you can get in here without having money or experience. Okay. If you do not have money and you do not have experience, then you're going to have to leverage your time. And even if you have limited time, apartments will be a method to change you from being a person who doesn't have any money to a person who does. So I made a post on my Facebook page or Facebook group earlier talking about time. And if you are not financially stable right now and you want to have apartments be your method, be your vehicle for being able to better that situation, you should prioritize learning about apartments. And so how can you get in without any experience? You're going to have to bring skill, and you're going to develop that skill using your time. How do you do that? You're going to have to learn to underwrite deals. And Terrence, I see your question. Do I have a spreadsheet to run numbers on? Yes, I do, but I do not offer it publicly, right? There are plenty of other ones. I probably should do that now that I think about it. I probably should have a public version of what I do. The reason I don't, however, is because if you look at my spreadsheet and you don't know how to use it, it may not be beneficial for you. So how do I explain all this stuff? I would have to create probably a course to go along with it. And I haven't done that yet, but there are people who do have that. So in this brief meeting, I can't explain how to underwrite, but I can tell you what to do, and Google can be your friend, right? So Udemy course, there's a guy, Kibble is his last name, right? He's got a great underwriting course. Michael Blanc's got an underwriting course. You find Joe Fairless has got a calculator. Rob Beersley has a calculator. You can find online calculators to learn how to underwrite. Use your time to learn how to underwrite, and then take that skill to someone else who's doing deals and say, look, I will underwrite your deals. I'll underwrite all your deals or a portion of your deals and get good at it. This is the theme over the next few things that you can do. You can also learn how to be an asset manager. As properties are being ran, there's going to be somebody who needs to check a budget to manage that budget and has to be able to make sure that the property management company of this deal is actually performing according to that. So what we do is we look at our monthly budget that the property manager gives us, and we compare it to the budget that we did in our pro forma. Are we on track? Are we off track? You can be the person to do that. You can bring in those asset management skills. You might be in the area and you say, I'll take my time. I'll walk the units. I'll make sure that the renovations are being done correctly, that the paint is being done correctly. Whatever's going on, you have to use your skill in order to work with another team that is buying apartments. And so the theme of doing this, right, is mainly to say, if you decide I want to be an apartment investor, but you don't have any money, you'll find somebody who's already buying apartments, and then you have to be an asset to them, though. And I want to hammer that home, like you have to be an asset to them, because if you show up and say, hey, I'm here, but I don't know how to do anything, you're taking away from another company, another business, and saying, I am now, what's the thing people say? I want to pick your brain, or I want to take you to coffee. And honestly, you are taking away time from somebody else that is doing stuff for them to train you. So what you need to do is to become skillful yourself, and then take that skill set to someone to save them time. So if you know how to asset manage, if you know how to underwrite, if you know a team that just bought a property in your backyard, hey, I'll do all this stuff. And you need to be able to do it, get efficient at it, and then leverage that skill into part of a general partnership. So I've seen this structure done several times where there's a person who will underwrite all the deals and they get a percentage of the general partnership once they buy one. So you have to put in some time to work for free, but eventually that pays off. Also, there are people who have experience in wholesaling, right? So you know how to send letters, find deals. If you can just become good at finding deals and then knowing the people who are buying deals, if you find a deal, bring it to them and structure it correctly, you can gain a part of the general partnership for being the person who sourced the deal. So these are things that don't cost you any money outside of you just taking the time to learn a skill set and then bring it in, right? Also, raising capital. Touch on that a little bit right now, but we'll go into it a little bit more in depth. If you just know how to raise capital, or you've got you're a very charismatic person, you know a lot of people with money, you got a profession of people that have money, you can just talk to your existing network and then bring that capital to a deal, and you can become a part of a general partnership. So this is just taking your skills, bringing it to somebody else, and then being able to leverage it for the purpose of getting into the apartment investing business. Once you do that, it's sort of in. And you can do this really with any profession. If you wanted to be a mechanic, whatever it is, and you want somebody to teach you, you just show up and add value to them. And at some point, hanging around them, you're going to learn more of the business. If you have skill set in your life, right? Maybe it's not even multifamily related at all, but let's just say that maybe you're good at networking, right? Or you're a real estate agent. You're good at relationship building. You worked as a marketing or consultant of some sort, right? For another company. Those are valuable skills that you can use. Like I love, I'm gonna say I love, but people who usually have experience in technological backgrounds, right? So call it like software developers, engineers, those sort of techie jobs, great analytical minds that really navigate right into underwriting deals because you're already a numbers person, right? So you can use your existing skills, bring that into the apartment business. That's the way you get in. Okay. So that's really, if you have no money, learn a skill, bring it to another team, gain ownership in the general partnership. All right. General partners just means the teams that are actually buying the deal, for those who don't know. So let's say you are a person who has money, but you don't have time, right? You've got a nice income, right? You're a business owner. You got a high paying career, whatever it is. You don't have any money. You may want to get into the, you have money, but you don't have any time. You may want to get into the business by becoming a limited partner. Okay. This is one way you can invest some of your capital, take it, put it into a team. And what I would do is I would actually ask that team that I was investing capital with, can I listen in on your investor calls or on your property management calls? You can learn so much. We've had some investors do this with us too. You can learn so much just by sitting in on the meetings and seeing how a company runs a syndication. Because you invested as a limited partner, you know how they structure the deals, you see how your returns are coming, you see the operators, and you can ask for a peek behind the scenes, right? So that's one way to get in. If you want to be on the general side, the general partnership, meaning that you not only get returns as a limited partner, but also as a general partner as well, things you can do are becoming a loan guarantor, right? And so by being a loan guarantor, what you are doing is saying, I will, when you go to the bank to get a loan, they may ask you for certain requirements. They may say, we want you to have a certain amount of money in an account somewhere so that the bank feels good. If you can't pay the mortgage 1 month, that the bank's going to get their money. If you have some liquidity, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money in the bank account, it can be IRA, 401k, stocks, whatever it is, but you can leverage that to go to someone else who needs that and say, hey, I will sign on your loan documents with you to help you get into that. So hopefully that makes sense. And before I run on too long, let me see what we got going on with questions. So Jack says, to be clear, at least how much to say I have money, right? That is very subjective, but here's the thing to know, right? It's going to be dependent on the size of deal that you're doing. And I would say probably at a minimum, to call it 200,000, right? You got 200,000 liquid. You could say I have money. Now, if you just want to invest passively, you could passively, meaning like you're going to be a limited partner. You could probably come in for 50,000, maybe even as low as 25,000 to invest passively and sort of learn, right? If you want to be a general partnership, well, that's where it gets very subjective, and it depends on the type of deal that you're doing. So I'll give you two scenarios. If you had $200,000 liquid and someone was doing a smaller multifamily deal and they needed a total equity of $500,000, right? Well, if they only capital they need is $500,000 and you can bring $200,000 of that, right? You could very much go to that team and say, I want a percentage ownership, right? I want to get a return on my 200 grand, but I also want to be able to participate in the operations, right? And so that is reasonable for you. Same thing if you have 200,000 and a team is raising $5 million. Well, you're just a smaller chunk of change, right? Not to say that it's insignificant. I mean, $200,000 is quite a bit of money, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to be able to say, I want to be a general partner, because they have to bring so much capital. And that's why I say, to say I have money, it sort of depends, right? And we'll talk about other ways too when we get to people who have a little bit of time and money as well. So hopefully that answers your question. From Melissa, it says, I have access to PML, asset-based transactional funding. I'm assuming that's hard money loan. How can I serve client investors with funding needed for purchasing, fix and flip and renovation of properties? Yes, so we will get into that right now, right? So hard money loans, go back to Jack. When I said liquidity, it just means access to the money fast, right? It's in a bank account, it's in an investment account somewhere. You can call that money down, right? If it's tied up in a property, right? So you got $200,000 in your primary residence or another investment or something, it's not liquid. You can't access that property. That's what I mean by liquidity. But if you have like hard money loans or access to some funding, another way you can use, and this was going to tie right into you, Melissa, is you could take that money and provide what you call risk capital. Okay. When you're doing these deals, I have people who say, hey, Jason, I want to get into multifamily, but I don't have any money. And I don't recommend you trying to purchase a property by yourself if you don't have any money, because risk capital is needed, right? So when you're going to do a deal, if you write an offer, let's call it a $5 million deal, well, that owner is going to require some sort of earnest money before they put it under contract with you, right? So usually typical is like 1%, 1 to 2%. So that means you need to be able to spend 50,000 in order to tie up that property. And you can negotiate this up or down or whatever, but just understand. So if you have access to capital, you could talk to a team and say, look, when you find the deal, I will put up that initial risk capital. There's also other things, right? Legal fees, inspections. So to say I want to buy a deal and I don't have any money, who's going to pay for the inspections? Who's going to pay for the earnest money deposit? You can get clever and find somebody to do it. But if you have that money, you can also leverage that as your way to partner with another team. And so even if a team has money, they can always use more risk capital. For instance, we had a situation this year where we were looking at 2 deals. And one deal we did about $150,000 on risk capital. And then there was another deal. This was going to require about $250,000. Well, you can see how, as an operating team, they may have, depending on how many deals they're doing or making offers on, they may need $300,000 to $500,000 at any given time just to tie up properties that they have not closed yet. So if you can help them with that and say, hey, I'll put in with you at the very beginning, but I want a percentage of the general partnership. That's a way you can leverage hard money loans, risk capital, whatever it is. And these deals are typically like 60 to 90 days to close. So if you offer a interest only period on this loan, right, you could fund the deal and then say, I won't require any payments back until you close. But once you close, now I want you to pay me X amount of dollars. And that comes from the amount of capital that they closed. All right. So that's risk capital. You can do that if you got access to hard money. You can do that if you've got really access to any funds, right? You just want to talk to general partners, people who are doing deals, and be able to bring your assets to them to say, hey, this is what I'm offering you. Okay. Then raising capital. Raising capital is something that anybody can do, whether you have capital or not. It's just a skill set. But understand this, that people need to know you and they need to trust you. So I reserve this more for the people who have money, because if you are going to invest as a limited partner, you can simply just talk about what you're doing to your friends and suddenly your peers, right? Because you're saying, hey, I'm putting $50,000 into this deal. And now you talk to your friends, you tell them why you're going to do that. They may be interested. And then they say, hey, I'll put 50,000 in with you, right? It's an easier conversation versus someone who isn't investing passively at all. And then you just tell somebody, hey, you should go invest passively, right? That's a chicken or egg type thing. How do you get the money? How do you raise money if you don't have money? It's sort of, it's a concern to be able to do that. But most people feel more comfortable investing with you than they would just necessarily investing in something that you told them to invest in, but you don't necessarily have experience in doing yourself, right? If that makes sense. So finally, we're going to try to bring this home, right? Bring this in for a landing right now. If you have money / time, you got a little bit of money, a little bit of time, or like maybe you got a lot of money and a lot of time, I don't know. But you can also do your own deal. This is how I started, right? I had some money, wasn't even my money. I borrowed money from home equity lines of credit as my down payment. And I started small, right? So you buy a small deal, 5 unit, 10 unit, 15 unit, wherever your own resources will take you. And you do that to prove the concept, right? So you want to go ahead and buy a deal, do it yourself. Now you can do this as I did. I read a few books. I went hard on podcasts. I was just, everybody who's talking about apartments, I was listening to that. And I felt like I had a lot of knowledge, and I went and bought my first deal. I didn't have any investors into it. Pros. You don't need investors. You don't have to raise any money. You'll have a large percentage of the ownership. You're the only person, and you can do that relatively quickly if you have the cash. The cons of that is that it's risky because you're all by yourself. So there's nobody to bounce ideas off of. In my first deal, I'll even briefly sort of tell you about it right now. That deal, I screwed up a lot. You know what I mean? So it ended up working out, but I sold that deal just this year. Bought it in 2016. Knowing what I know now, I would have been able to sell that deal in probably 18 months. 18 months to 2 years, I would have been done with that and had all my money back. Because I bought it wrong, because I didn't understand what I was doing, I had to, I borrowed money from my 401k. I refinanced it like 2 times. I mean, it was painful for me. And the mistake I made is that I thought that I could just It was 50% vacant. I said, I'm just going to renovate the other side and then I'm going to refinance, get my money back. Things are going to be great. What actually happened is before I could renovate those units, guess what? Tenants moved out. An experienced investor would have been able to tell me, like, hey, that's a bad plan because people are going to move out. When those people moved out, the money that I had that I thought would go into repairing the unoccupied side of the building went in to go into the part that was already occupied. So my occupancy stayed the same. And therefore I couldn't refinance. Oops, ran out of money. That's what leveraged me to just having to refinance, get creative to do it. So you can do a deal all by yourself. I wouldn't advise it, but that's how I got started. So I can never steer anybody away from doing that at all. Okay, so that's starting small. You can also start big. If you want to do that, you need to figure out your skill set. If you're a money person, if you are a person who has time, and then just bring that to a team that's doing big deals. The pros of that is that it's going to be less risky because you are joining a bigger team. That team probably has some experience. It's going to be less risky, less of a chance that you're going to screw something up. And it's going to be fast, right? Because you can do that. You meet somebody, you form a relationship, and you can do it. The cons of that is that you're probably going to have a small percentage of ownership, right? Because it's a larger team, you're coming in a smaller piece. So you may be in a big deal, but you'll have a relatively small amount of ownership based off of that. But Melissa, you said I needed money. Please tell us more. I'm not really sure. Maybe at the end, I'm about to wrap this up. So if you want to ask that question again, Melissa, to sort of clarify that, or if you could just rephrase it a little bit. So I don't know how to answer that question right there. If you could just rephrase it, I'll try to make sure I get to it. So where were we? All right. You got the big deals, smaller deals. And then let's go ahead and talk about mentorship, right? So in my first deal, I did it all by myself. The first time I raised capital, though, when I knew that was going to be the next step, first thing I did was go find a mentor. And why? I saw the mistakes that I made while doing that first deal, and I did not want to risk doing another mistake with somebody else's money. And so while there is there's some people right here who shun mentorship and say, I don't want to do that, people charge too much money, blah blah blah. That's fine. Let me know your way, and maybe that works. But what I have found in my life is that the only reason I'm here, right? I don't have rich uncle, rich dad, rich mom. I don't come from a real estate family at all. The only reason I am where I'm at today is because I found people, strangers, right, who were doing something, and I paid them to teach me how to do it. And that has paid off because it's investing into myself, right? And having that person who's able to look over my shoulder is what gave me confidence to say, all right, let me do this. And now I'll do it with your money, right? So if you're starting out and raising capital is going to be the way to do it, I would strongly encourage you to find somebody who can help you to be that person to look over your shoulder, right? To make sure that you don't miss something, because doing that can be very costly in this business. All right. So I'll let that go. And to wrap this up, this is bonus material right here. Here's the process, especially if you are going to be an owner, operator yourself, right? The first thing you want to do is you have to learn how to find deals and analyze those deals. All right. That's going to be the core component of your business starting off. And in the beginning, it's just you. As soon as you get that dialed into a process, you then stop doing it immediately and hire somebody to do it for you, or find a team or a partner, someone to do that. And then you become 100% focused on raising capital, right? So now you got the deal analysis part down, and you find somebody who can help you do that part while you focus on bringing in more money to the business, right? If you can structure yourself that way, you're going to be set up for the long term and continued success. All right. So hopefully you found that helpful. That's it. That's the conclusion right now. Let's go ahead and check to see who's got questions. Are any questions coming in on Zoom? I know I was taking them as they happened, but are there any left right now? None. Monique says mentors collapse time and you can leverage their experience. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know how to say that name, but yeah, if you the one who had the question, I didn't quite understand. If you want to rephrase that, go ahead and do it now. Armando, anything we can do to add value to you? Yes, shoot me a message, Armando, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. With that being said, I got no more questions. So I appreciate everyone who attended in today. What's happening right now? Michael has looks like a deal, Dallas Fort Worth. So he's put that in the chat. If you all want to see what that is, Michael, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pop it in the Facebook group too, just in case anyone there is interested in that deal. With that being said, I really appreciate you all attending today and sort of checking out what I had to talk about. Hopefully you found that useful. It's Christmas time, and this holiday season, right? I want everybody to enjoy themselves. I will be gone though. I'm going to be gone next week, taking a vacation. So as much as I would love to be here next week, a couple days before the new year, I will not. So we will not have a meeting next week. I will see everybody at the beginning of the new year, and we're going to have a good meeting there. We're going to be talking about how to cram a whole year of productivity into 90 days, right? And so if you want to see how we do that, then definitely reach out. That'll be the beginning of the year, how we kick off 2023. For those who want to hear about investments, you can go to snscapitalpartners.com. If you are a person who is interested in a mentor, you want to see what my company has, how we might be able to help you, feel free to reach out there as well. Other than that, I wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, enjoy yourself, eggnog, presents, all that good stuff. And I'll see y'all next year. All right. Have a good one. Stay warm. Later.